We will make our best effort
We'll make our best effort
to purify our hearts
to purify our hearts
and to love God ever more deeply.
and to love God ever more deeply.
Guide us,
Guide us.
bless us.
Bless us.
May we take every action
May we take every action
with devotion and humility,
with devotion and humility.
and may we be open and receptive
May we be open and receptive
to receive your grace,
to receive your grace,
to follow your will.
to follow your will.
Flow through us
Flow through us
and use us as your instruments
and use us as your instruments
to spread your light
to spread your light
in this world.
in this world.
Om Shanti Shanti. Let's chant.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Brahmanandam Parama Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Om Om. This is Thou Art My Life by Yoganandaji, page 29 of the chant book. Please raise your hand if you need a chant book. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. In the thought by my love brought, in the thought by my love brought, I taste thy name, so sweet, so sweet. Devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are. He knows whom you let know, he knows whom you let know. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. In the thought by my love brought, in the thought by my love brought, I taste thy name, so sweet, so sweet. In the thought by my love brought, in the thought by my love brought, I taste thy name, so sweet, so sweet. Devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are. He knows whom you let know, he knows whom you let know. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. In the thought by my love brought, in the thought by my love brought, I taste thy name, so sweet, so sweet. Devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are. He knows whom you let know, he knows whom you let know. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. In the thought by my love brought, in the thought by my love brought, I taste thy name, so sweet, so sweet. Devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are, devotee knows how sweet you are. He knows whom you let know, he knows. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Thou art my life, thou art my love, thou art the sweetness which I do seek. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. We'll also sing in Hindi, Andhere se bahar aa maa, mujhko darshan de. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे. अंधेरे से बाहर आ माँ, मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light. Come out of the darkness, Mother, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light, bathe me in thy light. मुझको दर्शन दे, मुझको दर्शन दे. Let's feel the devotion and yearning through the chants in our hearts and transform that into uplifted devotion to calling God and Divine Mother. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself. Call to God at your spiritual eye. And let's meditate for a few minutes.
While still meditating, listen to these words of Swami Kriyananda on humility. Humility is not self-deprecation. It is self-forgetfulness. It is knowing that God alone is the doer. It is the realization that nothing in the shadow world of appearances is all that important, except as it draws us closer to the Lord. Never tell yourself that you are sinful or weak or incompetent or lazy, except as such a statement may help you to surrender joyfully to God's power. Then live by that power. Never wear the mask of false humility. Humility is self-acceptance and self-honesty. You have a right to all power if you seek it in infinity, and if you never hold the thought that it resides in your little self. Let us affirm together, first loudly, I live by thy power, Lord.
I live by thy power, Lord.
What I have is ever thine, ever thine.
What I have is ever thine, ever thine.
I live by thy power, Lord.
I live by thy power, Lord.
What I have is ever thine, ever thine.
What I have is ever thine, ever thine.
I live by thy power, Lord.
I live by thy power, Lord.
What I have is ever thine, ever thine. I live by thy power, Lord. What I have is ever thine, ever thine. Now mentally only, let's focus at the point between the eyebrows. I live by thy power, Lord. What I have is ever thine, ever thine. Listen to this prayer. Thou art the doer, Lord, not I. Express thy perfection through me as I strive ever eagerly to live in thy light. Om Shanti, Shanti. Good morning once again. As many of you know, that some of us went to attend Swami Kriyananda's centennial celebrations in Ananda Village in California a few weeks ago. 750 people gathered in person from all over the world, and 5,000 people registered online to watch the live stream. It was an extremely high energy, joyful, inspiring week. You know, from day one, we thought we were floating on the cloud or the river of divine grace. So I thought I'll share some of the reflections from that week. Oh, by the way, the recordings are available online. You know, you can just, it's free. You can just register and watch all the talks, the kirtan, the concert, the play, and so forth. But being there, what struck me most was that here is a very, very big family. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're physically there or here, but you know, we are all connected. There are tens of thousands of people across the world who share the ideals, who share the meditation practice, the way of living, who shared the love for God and gurus. And our Guru Paramhansa Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda, who founded Ananda, they are bringing us together, holding us together. And, today's topic is self-effort, the importance of self-effort to draw the divine grace. And I thought, what I experienced over there or what I observed was quite relevant to this topic. So I thought I will share that. This event was made possible by many devotees' effort over many months. They've started planning 2 years ago. And there are many things that had to be carefully planned and coordinated and executed, not just that gathering or the talks, but the meals, accommodations, transportations, or setting up the places here and there, or cleaning the places and so forth. And those who live in Ananda village did the flawless job. Everything was planned very carefully and executed with ease, with love and joy. But in addition to that, what made the experience even more special was those of us who went from different places. 100 people went from India, actually. So those of us who went also got to participate doing some seva. Some of us sang in the choir, some were chopping vegetables, in the kitchen, some were serving the meals in the dining hall. We were carrying the chairs and the tables here and there, vacuuming the temple. Just a little seva, but still, by being there and participating in the seva, we were not the guests. We were also part of it. We were creating that whole experience together. And that's the key for this self-effort. We need to put out our energy, and especially when we put out energy together in satsang, meditation, or in seva, that magnetism grows bigger, and we are able to draw much, much more grace together. Another important aspect of the self-effort is the attitude in which we make our efforts. There is a story in the Bible of a woman who had a hemorrhage for 12 years. One day, Jesus comes to her town. He's surrounded by, lots of people. This woman also goes, just, wanting to be closer to him. But she can't reach, and finally she reaches out and managed to touch the hem of his garment. And instantly, she was healed. And what is interesting is that then Jesus stops and says, "Who touched me?" Imagine the scene. He's being touched by everyone, okay? People are trying to reach to him all around, and yet he stopped only when she touched. Why? And most likely, she was not the only one who needed the healing, right, in that situation. Why was she the only one who was healed? Why did Jesus say, and what Jesus said was, "I felt my power went out." Why did he say that? Swami Kriyananda explains that this woman was able to draw his power because of her devotion, because of her love. She wasn't she wasn't thinking that, what can I get? How much power can I get, from Jesus? She was just thinking that I'm nobody, but I just want to get closer to my master. And that attitude of self-offering, self-giving, giving her love, giving her heart, that drew the grace. Swami Kriyananda said, God's grace can be absorbed into oneself only with humility and love. So the centennial week in another village was powerful, and I think it's also for the same reason. For example, there was a concert, the choir concert. 140 people were on stage singing Swami Kriyananda's music. And we had very little time to practice. Maybe we gathered for 2 hours, and most of the 2 hours, or large part of the 2 hours, went into, who will stand where, and how do we come up to the stage? How do we go out, of the stage? Because there are so many people. Hardly any time to really practice the songs, but it came out so beautifully. Why? Because the intention was clear. Everyone wanted to offer the love, the gratitude to Master, to Swamiji, and wanted to express that through music. As a result, everyone was open as a channel for God's grace to flow through. So the kind of effort, self-effort, that devotee needs to make is not that I will do this better, I will do this more, And doing better, doing well is not even important. What God wants is for us to see that God is the doer. And Yoganandaji says, we offer ourselves joyfully and willingly into the flow of inner grace. That's what we need to do. So the whole week went like a storm. Imagine also when we go to a pilgrimage, for example, we go, we have our uplifting time, and when you realize it's over, it's like that, comes and goes. And you feel it was uplifting experience, but you don't exactly know what happened, So it was like that over there too. But thankfully, I stayed a few days more after everyone left. So it was quiet. I meditated here and there. I went to this temple, the main temple, the Temple of Light, where 700 people were there till, a few days ago. Now it was completely empty. And I was meditating. And there, finally, I could feel Swami Kriyananda's vibration, or Master's vibration, the calm joy, expansiveness, or unceasing flow of creative energy, inspiration, sweetness. And then I felt that, finally, this was the grace that was flowing throughout the week, beneath that all the actions and laughters and excitement. It's very difficult. We know that it's there, but when all the actions are happening, it's very difficult to really feel. And that was the grace, that is the grace that which keeps flowing, or which is always flowing throughout in Ananda village and all Ananda centers, wherever we are. Their blessings are there. But we need to make an effort to feel it. Yoganandaji says, divine grace is like the most precious of those rare diamonds. It is there to be found by all who seek it diligently. It must be sought in the right way, in the right place, and in the right spirit. The right spirit is an attitude of unconditional love for God. The right place is within yourself. The right way is the silence of deep meditation. So, I used this centennial event as an example, but these lessons are applicable in anywhere, in our work, in seva, in our family. When we raise energy, when we come together, and when we give ourselves to God with love, that's when the divine grace flows into us, through us. And yes, it's possible. We do feel the grace when we are in the middle of actions, but we also need to take time to come into ourselves and really seek that grace in the silence. And when you touch that in your silence within you, it will stay with us. We can always come back to that place. Jai Guru.
Good morning, friends. It's nice to be back. I'm feeling very refreshed looking at all of you. So whatever my travel fatigue is slowly going away. Chika was talking about the centennial, and being in the centennial, and also I took some time this year to visit other communities. I flew through Portland and Seattle and Los Angeles and spent some days with our devotees there. And when you do that kind of an experience, what I felt was that with the centennial, the grace is always there, as Chika was saying. But the place, the Ananda village, the centennial event, everything is so beautiful that you're riding on this wave of grace, and you forget that I also need to make constant effort, to receive it in our lives. And there was this Indian gentleman in Seattle. He was a devotee. He asked me, how do people meditate in India? There's so much traffic, there's so much pollution, there is, economy, and, it's full of stress and anxiety. And, this person works in like Microsoft or Amazon in Seattle, works 10, 12 hours a day. So I was very surprised at his question. But I realized, because, some devotees there, they have the community, they're living together, and it's very idyllic. Even the communities in the cities that you see in a place like Seattle, nested away from the hush of the city, and everything is quiet as compared to Delhi, of course. So I realized that it's actually a blessing that whatever he was saying, all these cons of living in a city like Delhi, at least it makes us realize very quickly that we need to go inside, and we need to make a constant effort to find our own center, right? Because if I was living at Ananda village, I think I would just watch the sunset every evening, read my book, take a walk, and I may not be as inspired to, let's do a 3-hour meditation, dive deep. But when you're in such busy environment, you need to find your center within yourself. And when we put that kind of a self-effort, then the grace is even stronger. There was a disciple of Anand Moima, and this disciple was admitted in the hospital. going through severe health challenges, and she was wanting Ma to come and visit her. So finally, Anandmoyi Ma came, and this disciple is very downtrodden, a little sad. And however, after seeing Ma, her spirits lifted. And now she felt that, Ma is there. Through her grace, I'm going to get well. So Ma was standing there, and she told her disciple, she said, you need to smile. And the disciple was, in the ICU, horrible condition. She's saying, Ma, how can I smile? I have a lot of pain. I'm fearful of what will happen. She said, no, you have to smile. You have to smile. Force yourself to smile. And she did. And once, as soon as she smiled, Ma said, now I can help you. Because as long as the devotee was making no effort, thinking that the Guru will help me, Guru, you are great, that grace stopped flowing. Even Ma standing there could not help her as long as she was closed. So the moment she smiled, she created an opening for divine grace to flow into her life. That's something all religion, because we have been coming out of Kali Yuga into this age of Dwapara Yuga, all religions have somewhat taught passive dependence on God, and no effort on our part. You see, in the West, believe in Jesus Christ, you will be saved. Do whatever you want through the day. As long as you believe in Jesus Christ, everything will be well. Or in the East, do your puja, do your mantra, do your part in the morning, do whatever you want. But as long as you believe, then, everything will be fine. And we pray to God, my child should get admitted into good college, give me wealth, give me health, give me prosperity, right? Rarely do we see anyone praying for, give me deeper love for you, give me deeper devotion, right? Isn't it true? I don't know about your life, but when I was growing up, these were the prayers I heard. People praying in temples to ask for gifts. And then you have yogis in the other end of the spectrum, and yogis say, okay, if I have these pranayamas, if I have the asanas, I have the mudras, then I will get to God myself. Both are lacking in something. One is saying only God's grace, just whenever God wants, He will free you. Why worry about it? Live your life as you want to. The yogis say, I'm going to do my practices and someday I'm going to reach God. But the golden path is in the middle. The golden path is what our great masters brought in this new age of Dwapara Yuga, which is to say that, yes, do your practices of yoga. They resurrected Kriya Yoga for us, but never believe that it is through the techniques that you are going to get your liberation. That the techniques are just a way to open yourself to that divine grace, right? And Swami Kriyananda ji called this cooperating with divine grace, because it's very hard to know with our limited intellect where our effort ends and where God's grace comes into the picture. But Yogananda ji gave us a very nice formula, and you all know this. He said the spiritual path is 25% our effort, 25% the Guru's effort on our behalf, 50% the grace of God, right? So when I heard that, I was very happy, because someone had finally clear-cut defined what it is and how it is. And he also added that the grace of God, which is the 50%, comes through the Guru. So in a sense, 75% is Guru is doing the heavy lifting on your behalf, and you are doing the 25%. However, to make up for that 25% of the equation, it takes all your effort. Your 100% still makes up 25% of the equation. So if you say, I'm not going to put in my 100%, something will be lacking, right? And that is what cooperating with grace is. So a very nice example Swamiji used to give is, grace is like a flowing river. And if you want to flow with the river, you need to make an effort to get into the center. If you're sitting on the bank, if you're a little bit near the banks, the river cannot take you. So you have to swim, and then once you're in the center, you don't have to do anything. The river takes you. And so that is why Yoganandaji used to say that the path is challenging at first, but as we grow over the years, it becomes effortlessly liberating. Effortlessly liberating. Because all that we have to do is to put ourselves in that river of grace, and then everything flows. And it's not something only the yogis know. Anyone who is successful at the top of their field in any aspect of life knows this truth, especially artists. I was during one of my flights, I caught some bits and pieces of this movie that had come out on Michael Jackson. I had never learned about his life, so I was interested. And in that movie, I found an interesting scene where Michael Jackson is sort of sitting on his chair and he's looking at the sky and he's totally lost in thought. And his brothers come and ask him, Michael, what are you doing? And he says, I'm waiting for the Creator to give me my melodies. And if I don't wait and sit here, he's going to give it to Prince. Prince was another pop singer, very famous during the era of Michael Jackson. So I was very intrigued by, that level of understanding in someone who is not necessarily we think of as a spiritual person or a yogi, but anyone who is at the top of their field is always cooperating with divine grace. Ramanujan used to say that Divine Mother gives me my mathematical formulas. He said it very clearly. And when Swamiji used to write his songs, he wrote 400 pieces of music, so many 150 plus books. And he said he was describing his process, how he does that. And it's very insightful. He says, I don't just wake up in the morning and say, God, give me something today. What do you have? Don't you have anything? Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. He said, no, I would tell God, I want a melody that expresses 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have to give it to me now. And the melody is, he would go on the piano and the melody would come out. Sometimes one of the friends of Swamiji, they asked him, can you write a melody on the consciousness of the people in Japan, something that reflects that music? He said, sure. He just walked into the piano and he just started playing something and the melody was right there. And that's the piece of music, if you're interested. It's called Cherry Blossoms in Kyoto. So cooperating with grace, do your part. You have to ask, and you have to ask with the belief that your prayer is going to be answered, not like a beggar. That's one of the things Yoganandaji wanted to correct, especially in the East, because we tend to think that, and also in the West, but we tend to think that our karmas are so much, we need to work them out, we need to beg from God for mercy, for health, for wealth, for happiness. And he said, never beg, always demand from God, demand as his child. Because when you beg from God, you are creating distance. You're creating distance between you and God. But the moment you start to pray to God as a child, you're affirming your closeness to God. That is very important in our prayers. And that is the right use, of our self-effort. And the most important thing is, if we want to live in a state of grace all the time, if you want that grace is not something that comes, once a week or once a month or a few times a year in your life, then he simply said that the degree of grace that you experience in your life is directly proportional to your degree of self-realization. Very simply. And the more you live in the consciousness of God and Gurus, the more your life is going to be filled with grace all the time. There are so many examples I could share from my life, but I remember a month ago when I was taking the flight to go to San Francisco, Nayantara and I, and we got to the airport about 3 hours before our departure time, which is pretty standard. But the terminal was very crowded, Terminal 3. And there was a long line of people, I think about 100, 150 people standing to check in their bags. And I was sort of dazed and I said, okay, Master, what should I do? So I looked around and there was just Air India staff coming through. And I asked him, Sir, is there any other place I can check my bags? Because sometimes it's a herd mentality, people just go where the crowd is. So I asked him and he said, oh yeah, you come with me. I said, okay. So I went and he took us to another counter where there was no one. There was just one more person ahead of us, and a lady came, an Air India staff. She had a tablet, all very fancy. She was checking us in on the tablet. And then when more people saw that, this is a shorter line and something is trying to happen here, they were coming, and he told them, no, go back to the big line. And I was like, okay. So I asked the staff there, why am I here? Like, why are you not allowing other people to come in this line? And she gave a very strange reply. She said, we call people here whom we want to call. It's like, okay, yeah. But it didn't dawn on me, because by the time we reached our gate, we barely had 20 minutes or so left. And if we had stood in that line, we would have been very late, or we may have even missed, our flight. So if we share these things with God, there is some miracle waiting to happen at all times, and we can always be living in a state of grace. Just depend on God more and more, and grace will be ever flowing, but you have to make an effort. We cannot be passive. The techniques are there, the gurus are there, but they will help us if we ask. So let us all remember to keep asking. Jai Guru. Let's have an arti now. Father, Mother, Friend, our God, we thy wonders all acclaim. Father, Mother, Friend, our God, we thy wonders all acclaim. May our thoughts be only of thee, train our hearts to sing thy name. May our thoughts be only of thee, train our hearts to sing thy name. All desires born of delusion, here we lay, Lord, at thy feet. All desires born of delusion, here we lay, Lord, at thy feet. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever one with thee. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever one with thee. Thy one light brought by our great masters, make us ever